We live in a time when we are constantly presented with cases of moral equivalence, which muddy the waters of moral certainty. Yom Kippur calls us to the challenge of letting the soiled waters settle and embracing the ensuing clarification of what is important and what is not. We are beset on a daily basis with things which draw our attention in both good and bad ways and interrupt the focus we must apply to keep on a more narrowed and directed ethical approach to our own lives. On Yom Kippur, we are tasked to be reflective, knowing that we will get it wrong, and still asking forgiveness in advance for such failures. What a different system of invocation, one not followed by any other spiritual entities. Why, we ask, is this the correct approach for us? Of course, this approach has a built-in measure of humility, not running from our own failures, and yet not necessarily dealing with them either. Though we're tasked with difficulty of accepting our lacks thereof, we still soldier on. And at a minimum, at least name what we have yet to accomplish in dealing with our infirmities. There are no perfect people, and we each stand duly in acceptance at the front of the line with a passel full of our own imperfections. In our measured time here on earth, alive, breathing deeply, and trying as best we can to be the people we aspire to be, we must face what is real and what is not, what is fundamental and what is not, what we can do and what we cannot. And yet we rest easy at times, when we are not directly affected or afflicted, while all manner of hateful vicissitudes persist and strengthen. Here in Hawaii, we are removed from the turmoils of the everyday world, if we so choose. If there was ever a time that calls us each day, as each day can and does, to act with certitude and decisiveness in our determination, now is that time. If not now, when? If not you, who? To quote my namesake, Hillel. The single most important issue of our day is the forcible separation of children from their parents, a stated and directed government policy. I name this as a crime against everything all people consider decent and good. The condemnation of the whole world shares abhorrence for such actions, actions that are detestable and vile, and whose equivalence in modern times was the same government policy practiced by the Nazis during the Holocaust. And yet we, the people, stand idly by as the next obfuscation roils our collective conscience and pulls our focus away. We feed at the fountain of common loathing for actions taken in public view, actions which are clearly meant to distract and change the subject. All the who said or did what to whoms are not nearly as directed as a policy which, as enacted, forthwith cuts to the core of what it means to be a giving and nurturing human being, throwing that core aside with political machinations and a word stew of deflection, all while people are being hurt. We, who readily reject moral turpitude, are complicit in our inaction and in our condemnations, in actions which serve to mollify all that is wrong with what we hear and see. Where are we when we are so needed? Truant with all our words, appalled and scandalized in the profanity. Can we wake up each morning, look in the mirror, and understand how we are absent in our own presence, forgetful of the lessons we as a people have so personally learned? I quote Martin Niemöller, a German theologian and Lutheran pastor best known for his opposition to the Nazi regime during the 1930s. A quote that is emblazoned on the wall of the National Holocaust Museum in Washington, and it is written, "First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a communist. And then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Catholics, and I did not speak out because I was not a Catholic. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Nothing more need be said. Though we were reminded last month as we gathered as a congregation and heard Goldie Lefkowitz's talk at our Shabbat service. Goldie, a Holocaust survivor, admonished us not to forget and be stricken with the curse of having to relive its history, a history that has forever scarred us with the knowledge of how cruel and uncaring mankind can be. Are we complicit by our silence? Do we express the moral outrage that naturally surfaces at this perilous time, when such outrage is often a function of self-interest? When the moral outrage is wielded to assuage feelings of personal culpability for societal harms, is ours a moral outrage that is used to reinforce our own self-defined status as quote-unquote very good persons? Ultimately, is moral outrage just another type of silence? These are among the conclusions of Bowdoin psychology professor Zachary Rothschild and University of Southern Mississippi psychology professor Lucas A. Kiefer, who have found, in addition, that feelings of guilt generated by the self-perception of not acting morally are a direct threat to one's own sense that one is a moral person. Their research on guilt finds that this emotion elicits strategies aimed at alleviating guilt, but do not always involve undoing actions. Furthermore, research shows that individuals respond to reminders of their group's moral culpability with feelings of outrage at a third-party harm, doing such outrage, for example, at government actions and inactions and policies. These findings suggest that feelings of moral outrage, long thought to be grounded solely in concerns of promoting and maintaining justice, may rather reflect one's own personal efforts to maintain a moral identity without actually acting morally. Here is a Yom Kippur message for all Jews who profess to being the moral messengers of the world. Tikkun Olam is not a catchphrase, but rather a call to action. As Jews, we are blessed with the cyclic calendar of the Jewish year, always inserting times of intimate and deep reflection. Within our community, we must use these times to determine and comprehend exactly how we individually act in this world. As a group, we have a historical memory which serves as a moral compass and guides us in our search for meaning and right action. This is our way to establish our own personal integrity, an integrity which acts as a consistent and true indicator that we are following a proper direction. Our Jewish experience, as read in the Yom Kippur afternoon Torah service and throughout the Torah, includes the cultural remembering of having been strangers or aliens ourselves, a memory which Marvin told us in his last Drash is mentioned 36 times in the Torah. We more deeply feel our own hearts and souls by understanding as a kehillah, our community, what fleeing is from one country to another due to violence and danger. Our group identity serves us even better in that we have always taken the opportunity to make such crucial decisions which change lives. Recognizing that, I quote Martin Buber, who wrote beautifully in his opus I and Thou, published in 1923, quote, "Man wishes to be confirmed in his being by fellow man, and wishes to have a presence in the being of others. Secretly and bashfully, he watches for a yes, which allows him to be and which can come to him only from one human person to another. Our Jewish community, as a representative of the community of man, can be the model of upright steadfastness and moral rigor if we take on the issues of our day. But that is the big question. If not now, when? If not you, who?" I ask everybody to close your eyes, please, and spend a very short time thinking about the children. Think about these children who have been separated from their parents. Please close your eyes. Think quietly about the children. Our parents ran from Shulchan to find the promised land. They had to flee the dealers and their brutal, cruel hands. And I remember bloody bodies and my uncle, Tito Ray, who ran, who died when he went walking. Looked in the wrong doorway. We fled the fear and screaming, random gunshots, night or day. The peasants scattered one by one, the town in disarray. Couldn't pay, we had to leave and find a better way to take shelter from a human storm, a profligate decay. We paid a mule coyote to lead our little band across the torrid desert into the river Rio Grande. We tried to make the crossing in the still of the night, but the border guards, they caught us with their bright headlights. And now we sleep on the cold concrete, a dirty sheet for a blanket, some rotten meat to eat. We drink the taint of water. Day by day, it gets harder. Our hopes and all our prayers have been displaced by all our fears, and all that's left's a bucket full of tears. And all that's left's a bucket full of tears. When we came to this land, hand in hand with each other, our lives as yet unplanned, looking out for one another with all the love we shared, and counting beads on rosaries, not knowing if we've made it with the hope of being free. But the men in fancy uniforms with barking dogs in tow, they led us to some buildings with barbed fence and lights glow. There were frightened children with us, whose lives were now derailed. And my little baby sister commenced in fearful wails.
to a plaza where all the people knelt and prayed. And then the guards took our parents to a shuttered brown stockade. My sister started crying and collapsed in hapless pain. And we never ever saw our parents back once again. And now we sleep on the cold concrete, a dirty sheet for a blanket, some rotten meat to eat. We drink the taint of water day by day. It gets hotter, and we don't know where our papa and our mama disappeared. And all that's left's a bucket full of tears, full of tears, full of tears. And all that's left's a bucket full of tears. And then they put us on a city bus, drove off through the heat. When we looked out the windows, there was only tumbleweed. My sister clutched my hand so tight, my fingers, they turned white. And she cried and cried the whole day long, and half the dreaded night. Traumatized children on a bus to who knows where. Their vacant stares accosting us with the depths of their despair. We finally got to where we didn't know, no one cared. 'Cause all there was guards and dust. Not one of us was scared. And now we sleep on the cold concrete, a dirty sheet for a blanket, some rotten meat to eat. We drink the taint of water day by day. It gets hotter, our lives forever marred, forever scarred for all our years. And all that's left, a bucket full of tears, full of tears, full of tears. And all that's left, a bucket full of tears. And all that's left, a bucket full of tears.